Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to the extravaganza known as the Steelers Hangover, where we take the Steeler game, we recap it, we go through it, we talk all about it, and then we turn around and see how we're feeling 24 hours after the fact. Of course, we have not had a hangover. We've been having this bad hangover since the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Baltimore Ravens way back on December 29th. But now that the Super Bowl's over, does that change some things? Is the hangover over and we're getting ready for a new party called 2020, Tony? What do you think, my good friend from behind the steel curtain?
I'm sorry, I'm mourning the end of the season. How are you, Bryan? How are you doing?
I
can't believe it's
lamenting.
over. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's over. I look forward to it all off season. Now we have to do it all over again.
Is 2019 though? Is this a clean slate now? And we'll talk about that later. But maybe it's good that season's over. Maybe it's good to wash the stench of an 8-8. Everybody gets injured. Weird season completely off of the books. As always, Tony. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl because that's what our hangover is talking about. Then we're going to move into more where the Steelers go from here. And a lot of good things to talk about. But as always, we welcome you in, the viewer. And I'm seeing big names pop up right off the bat. Ezra, Wes, Getting Bent with a Bow, Snowman, big friends of the show. We're going to see so many more. If you do have questions and you want to support the show, feel free to do so. Now, the easiest way to support the show is to just hit like, tell a friend about it, share it, and you'll get those notifications. Ring that bell to go ahead and make sure that you know every time we pop up. So if I'm looking at Steeler fan number 74 and Chris Boyd, they know because they rang that bell. They know right now that we're having a show. And if Dave and Lance and Jeff and Big Bro Sco, they're having shows, they're going to know too. So remember, that's the best way to support this show. Tell all your friends about it. We really appreciate it. With that being said, if you do have some questions, you could use the super chat feature. Try to use that later on in the show because we're going to try to keep at the task at hand. You know, my ADHD, where I go all around the board. I'm going to try to ignore the questions a little more until later on in the show. Let's see how far that I'm able to do it. And I'm not doing it well right now because Reginald Rivers, a good fan of the show. What's up, guys? Listening to you from Memphis, Tennessee. That's great. Memphis. I need to go there for I know good food, good fun. Memphis is on my list. Memphis and Nashville, just Tennessee. I went to Knoxville years ago, not to the World's Fair, but I've been to Nashville too. Yeah. Oh, gosh, you know how I am with the King. Thank you very much,
baby. That's where I want to go.
So I really would have loved to have seen the Penguins play the Predators down there. So lots of things to talk about, and we'll get your questions later. But with that being said, let's talk about the Super Bowl, Tony. What are your thoughts of the game? And should we before we talk about the game, should we skip straight to the halftime show? And could I just say that A-Rod's a lucky man. With that being said, and I don't know much about Shakira, but go ahead.
As a single guy, I enjoyed it. I don't know why I can't figure out why people are in such an uproar over what that halftime show. To me, it was one of the best I've ever. It was certainly better than Justin Timberlake's a couple years ago. No offense to him, but I enjoyed last night's much better. So I give it 2 thumbs up.
You know what? I liked the local flavor of it. If I was hoping that since it was Miami that you might see Pitbull, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Gloria Estefan show up. But with that being said, I thought it was a fine show. Now, I watched it with my children and their friends, and they were all freaked out about it. And my daughter just told me before the show, she's like, all the boys in 5th grade thought the halftime show was disgusting. I'm like, trust me, I'll just tell you this. In a few years, they will not think that was disgusting. But I mean, I thought it was fine. I think for some reason, I think we get way too critical when it comes to what's just supposed to be entertainment at the halftime show.
Right.
A great quote that I read was from Adam Levine, who did the show last year, and actually they were under fire for doing that show. There was a lot of people that dropped out last year, and he said, "Look, I'm glad we can just enjoy the show this year, enjoy the game. I'm glad that's behind us because it was definitely a lot of it was definitely a lot of pressure on them." So
yeah, well, I mean,
go ahead.
I mean, you're not going to please everybody. I mean, I always reference a local morning show. They read Facebook quotes, angry Facebook quotes about a lot of things, and they always read the ones every year whenever the halftime show is announced for the Super Bowl. And people want Metallica, they want Tony Bennett. I mean, people it's all across the board. You're never going to please everybody. So I think the NFL does the best it can with getting good acts every year. I was only kidding about Justin Timberlake. I thought that was a good show a couple years ago. I thought the last year was really good, and I thought last night's was good. So, it is what it is. You have 100 million people or whatever it is watching, and you're just never going to please everybody. People are always going to be on their soapboxes complaining about something. So I thought it was fine.
I like what Wes says. I wouldn't put that Super Bowl halftime show in my top 5, but it was entertaining. If I did put one in of the last 10 years, if I'm talking about one of my favorites of the last 10 years, I would probably have to say Bruno Mars. I thought Bruno Mars was fantastic.
He's fantastic, yeah.
I did not really like the Bruno Mars with I liked it better when it was just Bruno Mars. I'm not a big Beyonce fan, but I know she joined him a few years ago as well. But Bruno was great. I liked Maroon 5 last year. I liked Yesterday. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I'm going to let everybody know this. I am not going to purchase any of those male dancing outfits that the fellows were wearing with J-Lo. It looked like they just put they were wearing duct tape. And so
yeah, I have to do more exercise before I even think about that.
I told you I wasn't going to pay attention to the quotes, but fellas, J-Lo is 50. Find me a gilf like her. Oh boy. So probably back to what we were saying, A-Rod continues to be a lucky man. So with that being said, let's talk about the game though. I'm just going to come out right out and say it. I thought it was a very entertaining football game. I kind of thought that Kyle Shanahan, I still have a lot of respect for him. If I was a 49er fan, I'd probably be disappointed in how they lost that game at the end, how he handled it. What were your thoughts of the overall game, Tony?
I thought it was you said entertaining. I thought it was fun. I wouldn't put it in my top 5 or 10 of all time. I thought it was kind of sloppy, there were turnovers, but it was it felt like a regular old football game just with everything at stake. So I kind of like that part of it. I thought it kind of reminded me of a really intense playoff game instead of a spectacle that sometimes the Super Bowl can be. So I really enjoyed it. And to your point, if I'm a 49 fan, I'm kind of disappointed. You're up by 10 in the fourth quarter, and then you're up by 3, and you don't dance with Bryan. You don't continue to run the ball. I didn't understand that sequence of the game at the end.
That's what I was looking for. Run the football. They passed the ball 8 times against the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. Continue to run that football. That's when they were running. I mean, they had a little 3-headed monster going. I mean, I didn't see a lot out of Matt Breida. I know he was there, but between Coleman and Mostert, they really looked good. I thought they blew that game, and it was a shame.
Yeah.
It was definitely a shame that they blew that game that way. Let's talk about Kansas City. Did Kansas City win that game, or did San Francisco lose that game?
Well, I think the 49ers didn't stick to their guns, so to speak. So I think they left the Chiefs in the door at the end, and I think the Chiefs just became the Chiefs at the end. Patrick Mahomes performed his magic. Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Sammy Watkins had a great second half. So I think that the 49ers kind of let them in, let them get in the door, and they knocked it down at the end, and with Mahomes, 3 times, like he first quarterback ever to overcome 3 double-digit deficits in the playoffs, or multi-digit deficits, whatever I'm trying to say. So I thought it was a combination of both.
Tony Defeo, is he the next Tom Brady? Is he going to win multiple Super Bowls?
I think he could be the next Aaron Rodgers, as far as I think his skill sets. He reminds me a lot of younger Aaron Rodgers, but can he win a lot of Super Bowls? Yeah, I think he can. I mean, I've thought that about other people in the past, and it didn't pan out. I mean, the NFL is a tough business. I mean, it was their first one in 50 years. It was their first appearance in 50 years. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards yes in a big way. I think he's going to be the gold standard for quarterbacks for many years to come. But yeah, right now, if I had to bet on it, I would say yes.
What surprised you the most about this football game? Who stepped up for you?
Sammy Watkins. I really like what he contributed to the game. People talked about Hill and Kelsey and obviously Mahomes, but and then everything, the players on the 49ers side, people like Kittle and Debo and Garoppolo and their defense. But I really was I was really impressed with the Watkins. Man, this guy was a top pick at one point. So I mean, he really found a home, and he came through in big moments. I was really impressed with him.
Let's talk about this. Thaddeus Kennedy says that the defense really stepped up for Kansas City. This was a very inspired football game from the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Did you see that coming? Because I really did not.
No, but I mean, they have some talent. I mean, they showed an ability in the playoffs to take some huge blows from their opponents and kind of regroup and come on at the end. But to your point earlier, the 49ers probably, if they would have game plan, I mean, it seemed like they were out physicaling them at the line of scrimmage, and but to the Chiefs' credit, they hung in there and they made plays at the end. I mean, they had 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter, I think. So, or in the second half. So, I think they came out with key plays. I mean, they were a bend but don't break. But with that offense, it's pretty much all you need.
Okay, Tony Defeo, you get a MVP vote. Are you giving it to Patrick Mahomes?
Yes, because he made the plays at the end. It wasn't a perfect game for him, but he made some pretty big plays at the end. Some pretty big runs, obviously some excellent passes. So yeah, he's the golden boy, and he's a quarterback. He gets my vote.
Okay, so I would have given him the MVP as well. Now there's a lot to be said. Tyreek Hill had 100 and some yards receiving. Damian Williams had a beautiful game with over 100 on the ground, had that touchdown. But here's my thought on Patrick Mahomes. Those guys, they had solid games, but what I'm going to say is that I think the MVP was preordained. And I think it's been preordained in the past. And I was thinking that, like, if they win this game, you're going to see Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP unless somebody does something spectacular. We saw it before. Right. We saw it with Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was preordained to win the MVP when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, because no one really blew things away in that game.
Right.
And no one really blew me away for the Chiefs.
Right. I liken it to a prize fight, a championship boxing match. You have to knock out the champ. It's hard to win a draw, and I think, like you said, it was preordained. The quarterbacks usually get their votes are weighted. So yeah, I think, like you said, nobody else did anything to really just stand out. I mean, they had great games, but Mahomes was the center of attention, and again, he made the big plays at the end. So I think it was preordained, like you said, and he didn't do anything to refute that.
Dallas says he has never been preordained. I don't think I have ever been preordained either. But the one quote I was trying to bring up, Chris Boyd says MVP Bieniemy, Eric Bieniemy, definitely, definitely had a fantastic game. He's going to be a head coach in this league. Probably would have been an MVP. I mean, a coach in this league if the Chiefs weren't in the Super Bowl. I think he is ready. The thing with Pat Mahomes right now, I think that rushing touchdown helped get him the MVP as well. I think getting with the 2 touchdown passes, I know he threw 2 picks. I just didn't really see anybody. It was a game that I really didn't want to give the MVP to anybody on the Chiefs. There's most valuable players, and there's like, yeah, okay, we got to give somebody an MVP, and that's kind of the way it felt. So, with that being said, that's why I think Patrick Mahomes got that role. But you look at something. You look at Ben Roethlisberger in his first Super Bowl, and 9 for 23, or 9 for 21, something like that. Just not a very good game. He was not named the MVP of that game. Kind of thought he could have been named the MVP in the second Super Bowl.
Right.
Santonio Holmes got it, and no one's complaining about that either. Ben could have got it there, but really, quarterbacks get better in their second Super Bowl, in their third Super Bowl. They get better. I watched that with Terry Bradshaw as well. I've been watching those games the last few weeks. It's amazing how much better he got. The Steelers had in Super Bowl 13 one of the great early Super Bowls. They had 3 turnovers in the first half of that game. Bradshaw had a couple interceptions. But the thing about it is he came alive, and no one was denying him winning the MVP. So I have no problem with Mahomes getting it, just because really saw nobody else.
Exactly, and Bradshaw, he was MVP in the Super Bowl in back-to-back years, and he had as you mentioned, a combined, I think, 6 turnovers between his interceptions and fumbles, but he still was head and shoulders the best player on the Steelers offense, and that's why he won the MVP. So, the quarterbacks, like I said, they get the benefit of the doubt. Usually, that's just how it goes.
So let's go ahead and wrap up the Super Bowl. Andy Reid, not a big fan of Andy Reid. I'm probably in the minority there. Just not a huge fan of the guy. But I felt good for him when he's finally won this game. Deserved it. But I want to ask you a question. So he kind of follows the Bill Cowher script. I mean, he waited longer than Bill Cowher. But does this one Super Bowl win make him a Hall of Fame quarterback because of longevity? I mean, not a quarterback, a coach. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this stamps his ticket. Whenever that may be, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And 21 years. He's consistently won throughout his entire career. He's been to another Super Bowl. I mean, he's been to countless championship games, and now he finally got over the hump. I mean, he did what they say a coach needs to do to get in, and that's win a championship. And there are coaches in the Hall of Fame that have never won one, and he's won. He's done that, so he's in. Just a matter of when.
I don't think he's done. I don't think this Chiefs team is done. I could be wrong. Hope I'm wrong. I hope they're done, but really don't think they are. They could they're favored to come back and win next year, but that's really easy to go ahead and put the favorite on somebody on the team that just won it. But the big thing is the major cap hit that they're going to take when Patrick Mahomes gets his money, and he's going to get his money. And
that's the thing.
And then the Chiefs are going to get Flacco'd.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I'd rather be stuck with Mahomes. I'd rather be stuck with Mahomes than Flacco. But that could kill them. So it'll be really interesting to see in this salary cap era as well. So one more thing that I want to bring up about yesterday's game is, can somebody please let everybody know that Damian Williams is a fantastic football player? This guy gets no run whatsoever. And we're talking about Patrick Mahomes for the winning the MVP. I don't think that, like I said, I thought Williams was very important in that game, but still with his numbers, he just didn't stand out. If he has a bigger name, he probably wins it. So I think the bigger name won it here. But Damian Williams is not a problem on this team. They lose Kareem Hunt, they have no problem. Damian Williams is that good. So this is going to be a pretty special offense years to come. Watkins is probably going to be gone, but you could put really anybody in this system, and anybody is going to be decent. Just somebody above average is going to be a superstar with this guy on this team. So, Dallas says, I thought Damon Williams was the man last year when Hunt was cut. He was, but still nobody outside of Kansas City talks about this guy. No one gives him credit.
There's so many big names there that it's hard for him to get credit, but it'll come with time. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, who really knew about Derrick Henry at the end of 2018? Now he's the gold standard for running backs in the NFL. I mean, it happens just like that with some guys.
So let's get to the title, and I'm getting to it a little bit later than I wanted to, but definitely wanted to wrap up the Super Bowl here. And to a lot of people, Super Bowl 54 just showed just how far away that the Steelers are from competing for a title. Would you agree with that, Tony?
No, because you just don't know about Big Ben. You don't know what his future is. I mean, if he comes back and he's 80-90% of what he was 3 or 4 years ago, then you have yourself the makings of a pretty good football team with that defense. And if Juju comes back, if James Conner is what he used to be, if Vance McDonald, it makes the offensive line better. So no, I don't. I mean, it always seems that way when you have Devlin Hodges, as, a guy like that as the last guy who was a quarterback for you, for a team that missed the playoffs and all the other injuries they had on offense last year. So yeah, it seems like that right now. But last year at this time, the 49ers were 2-14 because Jimmy Garoppolo was injured with a knee injury. He was out for the year. So the NFL is a parity league for a reason.
Yeah, but for me, and I know how great the defense is, and the defense wasn't great until week 3. But my thing is, and I realize they need a good quarterback on that team, and they need Roethlisberger back. But you said there's a lot of ifs. There's too many ifs. And the biggest thing that I'm looking at is, what is the greatest asset of the Kansas City Chiefs? That they can score at a moment's notice. They, they scored 21 points really quick in that second half.
Right.
When they started scoring, they scored really fast. So, even with Ben Roethlisberger, I'm wondering if that's a team that can win that quick. Because back to the defense again, Minkah Fitzpatrick shows up in week 3. After that week 2 loss, he shows up in week 3. The defense starts playing so much better. And that's fixed now. You've got to worry about losing some players there. You're going to lose Javon Hargrave. You're going to lose a guy like Bud Dupree, possibly Hargrave. And so you've got to fill in the blanks there. You don't have a number 1 draft pick, which I'm fine with because that's Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm already celebrating. I'm anticipating that with the 18th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to, you write it down, 18th pick, they're going to pick Minkah Fitzpatrick out of Alabama. So that's going to be
if they pick him, I'm going to be so angry.
You're going to be mad.
My phone. That's right.
So I just don't think they're a quarterback away right now because we don't know what we have with James Conner. I mean, I love James Conner, and I say this all the time. I think he's fantastic, but we're not getting 100% as far as games out of James Conner. What are we getting now? We're getting 50 to 60%, and it's just not near enough. So there's so many things to look at as far as the Steelers. We have, as Steeler fans, we have the luxury of being spoiled. And at this point, I'm looking at what Kansas City has and what Kansas City did, and I'm comparing them to what Pittsburgh has and all the ifs. And I still think if the ifs come together, I don't know if it's equal at this point. And I'm usually not a downer. I'm usually the guy that is a glass is 3/4 full.
Right.
So, what do you think about that? Do you really think? I mean, are we just Steeler fans that think that if Ben comes back, everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be perfect? Because last year we got a heavy dose of Murphy's Law. Everything went wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously Ben coming back is going to make a big difference, but to the Steelers' credit, last year they had specific needs, that they wanted to address, that we wanted them to address in the offseason. You're talking about cornerback, inside linebacker, receiver, and they went out and they did that. So, I have confidence that they can go out and at least try to address some of these gaps that they have, especially on offense. Maybe another running back, whether it's in the draft or free agency, a receiver, on the line, even on defense. I mean, you're not going to be able to fix everything. I mean, they're always up against the cap, but I think it's you mentioned they picked up Minkah in week 3, and that made a huge difference. So, I mean, who knows what kind of moves they can make this offseason that that one missing piece, that X factor that add to the team, that's going to make a difference, along with Ben hopefully coming back healthy.
McDave Clenord, we can't rely on Ben. We need a plan B. Definitely. And then somebody, Snowman, you're giving Jeff Hartman a bigger head because now you're quoting him with Randy Land. But Randy Land has to stop calling games scared. Look, if Ben Roethlisberger comes back, Randy Land is just a guy with a headset. There you go. He's not really a guy that he's not the offensive coordinator of this team, and he was exposed last year because Ben is the offensive coordinator of this team, and we've known that for a long time. Ram says Steelers will be very quiet in free agency. They're going to have to be quiet in free agency. They can't play Omar Khan football in the offseason like they've had the last 10 years. Omar Khan football was not going to work with a collective bargaining agreement that is going to expire in 2021. They can't extend those contracts like they did. So that's something that is going to be a problem right there. You can't just reload in free agency. And a year that you don't have a number 1 draft pick is where you really need to reload. Now, they can go ahead and get rid of contracts like Ramon Foster's contract. That's something that can go. They can get that off the books. But that's still not going to give you all the money that you need to get free agency in there. And you might be throwing some money at Bud Dupree this year too, Tony.
Right. Yeah, well, I have a question about that. Maybe you can answer. Maybe somebody in the awesome comment section we have can answer. There was talk yesterday that they might be close to signing a new CBA and not having to worry about a future work stoppage. So, if they were to sign a new CBA, would that open up the salary cap again? Could they do the kick the can down the road thing, or is it like they can't go past 2021 no matter what? That's a because if they do sign a new CBA, then that might change a lot of things for them. But you're right. I think there's going to be a lot of tough decisions with some of these veterans, like you said, like Ramon Foster and a couple other people that they might have to say goodbye to. But that's just the price of doing business.
Yeah, there's guys Chicolo, Barron, McDonald could go, but if you look at the cap numbers and how much does that really save you, and a guy like Barron who is only going on the second year of his contract, I don't know if that really changes everything. A new collective bargaining agreement would definitely help. Tony, it would, because then, yeah, I like your phrase, kick the can. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that again. I don't know. Really, I don't know if that's going to happen right away, because one of the things that they're telling players is be ready for, if you're going to do this, be ready to be gone for 2 years. Possibility. So you could see that happening. You could see them wanting to take a stand with this, and I've never really seen a collective bargaining agreement and negotiations go quick here. So I would be surprised. A lot of people in the live chat are talking about what quarterbacks to bring in. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater showed up. His name showed up. We've seen Andy Dalton. Here's the thing. You have to worry about, you still have Ben Roethlisberger, and is he going to accept that? And that's a problem right there too. So they probably want to dance that fine line with Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
Or are they that enamored with Mason Rudolph? And it seems like they are. So I don't think, as much as I want all of those guys, Chase Daniels, Wes just brought up Chase Daniels. I think that would be a good pickup. Matt Moore. I still talk about Matt Moore. He just won a Super Bowl ring yesterday.
Right.
And they don't win that Super Bowl ring if he can't hold things down when Mahomes is out. And that's what happened.
Well,
go ahead.
I think they'd be okay. I think Ben would be okay with a guy like a Chase Daniels or Matt Moore, like you said. But Teddy Bridgewater, he's starting caliber, and Andy Dalton, he probably still wants to start. So I think that he'd be more threatened by one of those guys. Plus, those guys would be much too expensive to bring in as backups. I mean, to bring here, they're not going to want to come here and be backups anyway. So I think he'd be fine with a Chase Daniels, a veteran like that. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, because you never know with Ben.
Yeah, we don't have the money for those guys as well. But a Chase Daniel, somebody just brought up Mike Lennon. Yeah. Brock Osweiler. That's something. Right. And a lot of people, now you're going to see people start typing in, oh, I would hate that guy. I would hate that guy. Look, you would have loved to have had Brock Osweiler, Mike Lennon, any of those guys this year, because this team is in the playoffs. AJ. Right. Yeah. I mean, any of those guys, this team is still in the playoffs. So there you go. Big Marv 34 brings up a really tough a tough situation for the Steelers here, but he's right on when he says Steelers really need to do something with Ryan Shazier. His contract is holding a lot of things up as well. So that's probably something that I think they will do. And I agree. And I love what they did with him. And you've got to think that Ryan Shazier would have gratitude for exactly what the Steelers have done. I think he would stay on with the team. You can create a coaching position for him. There's no problem. You can definitely you can do that. His contract And Dave comes in and says his contract has he has no contract now. So
Yeah.
that's true. It has run out. But they did that last year. They paid him last year and I don't want to say paid him, they extended him to let him go through that rookie deal so he can so he was getting a pension and he's getting on board. Now, if you're Ryan Shazier, what you need to do is saying, look, I'm going to continue to work because I still want to play. And this is not going down the road and like he shouldn't play, I wouldn't let him play. No. In his mind, the guy's got to have a goal. And if he has a goal to come back and play, don't, snatch his goal away from him, but just say, hey, if you are ever ready to come back and play and you've got it here, but don't go somewhere else. Stick around here as a coach. I think you would absolutely have to do that because they stuck with you.
Right.
And I don't think he would go anywhere else. So with that being said, that goes back to my original point. Everything goes back to the original point with money, with everything. They're not even close to what Kansas City was yesterday in that game for 2020. And that might have to be a harsh reality at this point. A lot of things need to happen. If a new collective bargaining agreement, Tony, comes in, yeah, that's fantastic. And then they could start playing Omar Khan football. And Omar Khan is magic with a salary cap. He has done that for years. So we'll see where we go with that. But that's the first shoe to drop. If that shoe doesn't drop, then you're just bringing in really cheap guys. Or you're stuck with Chicolo.
Oh, right. But as far as, you also have in like a James Washington and Deontay Johnson, you have two budding superstar wide receivers, and obviously Juju has shown that capability in the past. So, there's so much that can happen if Ben does come back. I'm not saying they're the kind of team that Kansas City is, but I think that gap can be, closed, narrowed much better if you have a healthy Ben come back next year. So it remains to be seen.
So let's play the healthy Ben game. Okay. Which we all want that. We all want a healthy Ben. So let's play it. Let's go section by section, position by position. Let's start with, does a healthy Ben help or do nothing to help this unit? So you just said it. We'll start with the receivers. And I think I know where you're going to go with this, and I'm going to agree with you. Does he help the receiving core?
Oh, absolutely. He's if he comes back and he has the same kind of arm strength that he's had in the recent past, and yeah, absolutely. How could he not? There's so much of a difference between a Hall of Fame quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and rookie quarterback, an undrafted free agent like Devlin Hodges. So yeah, absolutely, he would help those guys.
Does a healthy Ben help the tight end position? And I'm going to answer that. I'll say yes as well. I think Vance McDonald's a whole lot better when Ben Roethlisberger's in there. They need some help at tight end, though. I think Vance McDonald's on an island. Maybe Nick Vannett comes back cheap. Zach Gentry, I think that was a rough draft pick. But maybe Ben gets something out of him. So, yeah. So he helps there. Now, let's talk about the running game. Does a healthy Ben really help the running game?
Yeah, because they're going to have to be a game plan to stop him first, and then the running game second. So that takes the pressure off the running game. That's the pressure off the line. That's probably going to be the next one you're going to go to. We heard stories that those guys, meeting Mason and Devlin, they didn't even know how to, make changes at the line, call line changes at the line of scrimmage. That's something that Ben can obviously do. So that's gonna help the running game in many ways.
See, I don't think that Ben helps the running game as much, Tony. And the reason I say that is, I mean, no, and somebody, Steven just said, can't stack the box, and that's true. But I still think that you're watching guys, get 2.1 yards per carry, and these guys didn't light it up, and that's the thing. So I mean, I think Ben helps a little bit. I mean, it might help them a little bit, but he doesn't fix all the problems in the running game. Now, I get what you're saying about the offensive line and calling and calling those calling the line, but I just don't think that the protection packages. I just don't think that. I think the line is getting longer in the tooth, and I saw some things last year that worried me. I saw what I do not think Marquise Pouncey, as much as I love the guy, one of my favorite Steelers right now. I just don't think he had a good season at center, and he was named to the Pro Bowl team. So,
right,
and he got 4 votes for All Pro, and I just didn't see it. I liked it. I wanted to see every Steeler get votes. Somebody voted for Terrell Edmonds as well, which really made me scratch in my head. He got an All-Pro vote. But so I think that offensive line is still a big problem. I think that they're going to probably address that in the second or third round. You're going to see a higher draft pick on the offensive line as well for the Steelers. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that the Steelers need to fix. So the bottom line to it, in my opinion, and I don't think it's yours, and I respect that, but in my opinion, the Steelers are not closer to a Lombardi after watching Super Bowl 54 and what the Chiefs were able to do, and especially score that fast. And that's even with healthy Ben. So that's my opinion. And you think that, but this is one of those things where I have no problem being wrong. And I'm hoping that I'm wrong.
Right.
And, Dill Whitted says, bad, how can you think Ben won't help the running game? Tony's exactly right. Look, I want him to be exactly right. I just saw more problems than I just don't think this is a quick fix. I don't think we're a quarterback away at this point. And last year I thought we were. And now as I'm watching that game yesterday, I'm thinking, I don't know. But like I said, hope I'm wrong. And that's more likely than I am, because I usually am. So I will definitely wipe the egg off my face on the show, and I will say that I'm exactly right. Ezra says, got the jersey ready. Not from China, though. Love you, bad. Oh, Hall of Fame. Look at that. So I did not see what he was putting on there. Ezra has a Palomalu Hall of Fame jersey, and that's absolutely fantastic. As we're wrapping up the show, thoughts on the Hall of Fame? Thoughts on, now, 3 Steelers. I don't think we're going to see this again. I'm already planning to probably go to that game. Not just the game, but the induction. I've been to an induction before. I was at the Jim Kelly induction, but that's everybody calls it the Jim Kelly induction. I call it the John Stallworth induction, and it was a fantastic time in 2002. I actually made the ESPN broadcast, so I was looking and I was watching Stallworth's Hall of Fame speech the other day, and I know exactly where I was shown, but the feed was from the NFL, so it didn't break away to the crowd at all. But when he thanks the folks from Western Pennsylvania, they show me, and a lot skinnier BAD at the time in 2002, a lot skinnier. Let's just put it that way. But it was a fantastic time to go. I've already told my family. I've put it on the calendar. Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio. Donnie Shell. Troy Polamalu, Bill Cowher. Wish it was Alan Faneca. Should be Alan Faneca, but that's just not. Hutchinson got the nod, and I'm not going to complain about Hutchinson getting it. Faneca's getting in. It's just in the next couple years. I think it's not next year either. Huge class next year with Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson. I'm missing a couple. Charles Woodson. There you go.
Woodson.
So, and like 5 go. So Faneca can get in on the tail end of it. But then 21 and 22, 22 and 23 aren't as bad. And so he's probably going to go ahead and get his nod. He's going to get it. But we waited a long time for Jerome Bettis to get in there as well, too. So I would not worry about Alan Faneca. I would have loved to have seen him get all 4 in. I just didn't think they were going to put 4 Steelers in. There was no denying Troy Polamalu at all. Wes mentions Jared Allen as well. That's another guy that could possibly get in. Troy Polamalu, first ballot Hall of Famer. Lots of King. So what happened with Peter King? So he just didn't think it should be a unanimous decision. What was the deal with that?
I don't get why he would not vote for Troy. I mean, here's one of the most respected football writers in America. I mean,
and he doesn't mind the Steelers. He's never had a problem with Steelers.
He's always how many years in a row that he predicted they would win the Super Bowl years ago. So I don't understand why anybody who has watched a bit of football in their life and knows the history of the game and knows the players that played that position has to know that he was the first ballot Hall of Famer. So I don't know why he didn't vote for me. But when you have something that's decided by humans, it's always going to be imperfect. So that's just how it is.
There you go. Something that is perfect. The welcoming committee here at BTSC, Snowman throws in $5. He says, "Hey guys, a big welcome to new subscriber Mark Carmichael." Mark mentioned that he had listened to the show but had never subscribed and just subscribed. So fantastic. Thanks for picking that up. Snowman, I really appreciate you welcoming. Fantastic. So welcome to the show, my friend, and welcome to the Steeler family. And look, we can't do these shows without all of you.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic to always look and see these names. And I expect to see Mark Carmichael's name a lot on here, just like I'm seeing all of these names that we recognize as family now. And it's a BTSC family, and the spirit of the hangover is, and we've had games where we've celebrated together, and we have had games the very next day, 24 hours later, where we needed a support group. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where we are. And we needed that support group last week as well, for different reasons, with the tragic loss of Kobe Bryant as well. And we were able to talk about that. So there's so many things that we do here as a Steeler family. And here's the thing. I'm looking right now. We've got 70 in the live chat. And that's a live chat at 6:10 p.m. on Monday at this exact time. And a lot of people will be watching it later, and that's fantastic. But 70 right now to talk about the Steelers, who have not played in over a month. And that's what makes it special. So that's why I'm glad to ride with you guys. Tony, I'm always glad to ride with you. With that being said, we're going to be here next week as well. We're going to be here every week with so many things to do. So keep on coming on. And whether it's 6:10 or if you're getting bent with a bow, if it's 3:10. Or if you're Mark Davison, who I don't think showed up today, but if you don't, if you're him, he's in Australia. So I'm not even going to try to figure out what time it is in Australia as well.
I think it's Thursday.
Thursday. It's Thursday. That's great. Kathy says family reunion at the Hall of Fame game. That'd be awesome. Let's put that together. Let's get a lot of people to go to the Hall of Fame game. And I will tell you this: I'm already working on my Donnie Shell jersey, so I need to get a Donnie Shell jersey. So that would be great. Let's get people. Steven says we can meet up for a soda. Steven, I will never say no soda for you. I'm a soda guy. Randy Feetner, right now, no soda for you, but I would consider it if he showed up to our little BTSC party. So we'll talk about that. Maybe a HOF BTSC hangover. That could be a possibility. But with that being said, Tony, my friend, take us home.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Steeler Nation. Thanks to the comment section for doing an awesome job again. It's the off season officially. So for Bryan Anthony Davis, I am Tony Defeo, and you, my friends, have just been hungover. See you next week.